Little more prominent, it would be fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was good middle section. When you dare to dream, many a marvel can be accomplished, isn't it? Moving on. We all know how fleas are trained, right? They are put in a cardboard box with a top on it. The fleas will jump up and hit the top of the cardboard box over and over again. The fleas continue to jump, but they're no longer jumping high enough to the top. When you take the lid off, the fleas effect. When you take the lid off, they will not jump out of the box. They have conditioned themselves to jump just so high. Many times, students do the same thing. To help them do their best, the teachers of secondary and higher secondary section are here with their plans for the coming year.
A very good morning to this very august assembly of academicians and educators. At the outset, on behalf of all the teachers of the secondary section, I express sincere gratitude to Manan sir, Radhika ma'am and our supervisor Manju ma'am for granting us a podium to express our ideas. We in the secondary section have to keep the CBSE parameters in mind even when we bring the slightest modifications. So while keeping the CBSE parameters, strictures and CC expectations in mind, we in the 9th and 10th have attempted a modest paradigm shift. Since students get trained for the board exam these 2 years, in every subject, the core competencies have to be improved upon. For instance, in languages, the core competencies happen to be LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, writing. In maths, it could be analytical thinking, logical reasoning. So we aim to bring about subtle shifts and progress in that. Every activity of ours, therefore, has to bring a measurable progress in these areas and these skills among students. Because everything is reflected in the final mark sheet that's generated by the board. We've consequently identified a few domains wherein subtle but effective modifications can be introduced and consistently implemented and reviewed. Our fundamental belief is that when a student enters the secondary section, we nurture the learning that he has already imbibed the previous years. We then aim to bring some progress and advancement and finally enable him to proceed to the next academic step with relative ease. Keeping this in mind, our vision and implementation will include these following domains. The first, values and vocabulary. Second, regular homework. Third, modifications in testing patterns. Fourth, interdisciplinary approach in projects. Finally, disaster preparedness and response. I'll be handling the first one, values and vocabulary. That's value enhancement and of course, vocabulary building. Like the other teachers also mentioned, how important a place values hold in our lives, they go hand in hand with teaching. So every day sees teachers trying to instill ethical behavior in students while giving academic inputs. To reinforce this and also to increase the students' range of vocabulary so they can express themselves with speed in the board exam, 3 days per week will be devoted to introducing new words, phrases, adages in Gujarati, Hindi and Sanskrit. 2 days will see English idioms, phrases, proverbs, new words written on the blackboard. We're already doing this in a minor way, but we're carrying this forward. Now how? Students will be, of course, encouraged to write the thoughts. So a word or an idiom or a phrase in Gujarati will not only be discussed in that language, it will also be interpreted by the other language teachers in their class. Like the pre-primary teachers said, how they begin with, say, Gujarati or Marathi or Hindi, the child is most comfortable with. And then slowly, English, communication in English goes on. So we want to do justice to all subjects, to all languages as such. So children are able to immediately interpret things in different languages. So connotations, say for Sanskrit terms, would be found in English, Gujarati, and Hindi too. Then we will discuss its usage across literary pieces. It's our earnest hope that this exercise improves the students' range of language, enables them to appreciate literature, and also inculcates ethics and values. Just like to dwell upon a small example in case things are not clear. Like Seema teacher, our Sanskrit expert, just gave me an example of a small sentence. Vidya Vinayam Dadati. It says, knowledge or learning imparts humility. Now this crosses language barriers. I'm sure you will all agree. So now I try to think of, the children try to interpret this in English. We try to look for literature pieces by Shakespeare, by A.J. Cronin, whose lessons we do, where the same thing, knowledge imparts humility. We come across those. The Hindi teacher is going to discuss that in her language. So maybe, children get to appreciate great literature. Children learn the usage of maxims, adage, and phrases. Now, I hand over, thank you for your patient listening. I hand over the mic to my colleague Pooja, who will dwell on the next two domains. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijaya ma'am. Good morning, one and all present over here. I'll be discussing the next domain, that is regular homework. In the secondary section, the most important component of the classroom schedule is undisputedly the uncovering of the syllabus and giving sufficient practice for the board exams. Since the question papers of 9th and 10th grades come from the board, the question can be asked from anywhere and in any manner. So the student has to be prepared for that. Regular drill and practice sessions at school need to be compulsorily reinforced so that that can be done through the regular homework. We have therefore decided to give regular home assignments in all the subjects on a daily basis. This will not burden the child. So, how do we implement this? On almost all the days, maths homework will be given. In other subjects, this will depend upon the weightage of the content and the gravity of the concept. Sufficient time will be given for the completion. In certain cases, we will allow the fixed date for the submission. We have marked usually that few students come to us that teacher give us some extra homework or further practice. We, as the teachers, want all the students to come forward and have a thorough practice. And homework is a necessary step towards achieving this. I would come to the next domain, that is modification in test patterns. Our existing test pattern include formative assessments and summative exams. One of the FA activities happens to be unit test. Okay, here we will like to modify or make some practical modifications in this. In languages, open textbook assessment and question papers based on extrapolative thinking will be introduced. In maths, apart from the regular question paper, there will be a separate section for the speed test, which will include all the questions which are based on analytical thinking and reasoning. In other subjects, more subjective questions to provoke independent thinking and problem solving will be asked. Thank you. Now I hand over the mic to Ms. Sulva Dave, who will be discussing the next two domains.
Thank you, Pooja. My namaskar to one and all present here. I need more space. Thank you. We now move on to the next area, that is integrated learning. The interdisciplinary approach, this synthesizes more than one discipline and creates teams of teachers and students working on one broad-based, multi-pronged idea. So how are we going to do that? Every term, we are expected to give one project in every subject as an FA activity. This academic year, we intend, we intend connecting all disciplines with a project on hydroelectric power. In science, this exposes students to the scientific working of the turbine, water as a resource, and power conservation. In social science, the project will help identify the rivers on which multipurpose projects are set up, and also preservation of environment, water challenges, relocation of people affected by river projects. The monthly production of power and its consumption can be then statistically depicted through mean, median mode graphs in mathematics. The very issue of dislocation of people, renewable resources of energy will become the subject for report, article, letter, email, paragraph writing in our various other languages. How is this going to help our students? It enriches the overall educational experience. And also, as per CBSE, it gives an opportunity to search for information, construct one's own ideas, and articulate the same. We have already tried and tested this with 2 subjects, and now our objective is to go all out for it. Our next domain is disaster management. Are we prepared for it? How many of us can use fire extinguishers with confidence when an emergency situation arises? Or say, evacuate everyone smoothly in the event of an earthquake? God forbid, we do not want any of such situation, but we should be prepared. As part of disaster management, students of class 10 will instruct class 9 students in evacuation procedures. This topic is a part of their disaster management syllabus. So a long school bell would be rung without prior intimation. The very first time such a drill is carried out, it might be chaotic to say the least. But when the drill is repeated 3-4 times, we can be certain that presence of mind will prevail, and with the help of teachers, all students would move to safety. Calamities can occur anytime, anywhere, but at such times, our senior students will show calmness when they are trained. With this, we finish with our 5 domains where we are 100% going to show our efforts. Last but not the least, we have a request, and that I'm certain will be granted. Last month, Radhika ma'am shared a few classroom experiences with some of us. Each experience of hers was an eye-opener. Each teacher that day went home recharged. We therefore humbly request Radhika ma'am to share her repertoire of experiences with us at least once a month. So we want to hear more of those, ma'am. So granted. Thanks. Thank you so much. I am reminded of a famous anecdote from the Mahabharata, wherein Guru Drona places a wooden bird as a target and asks his disciples to take the aim at the eye of the bird. The first disciple was asked what he saw. He said, I see the trees, the branches, the leaves, the sky, the bird, and the bird's eye. The sage poses the same question to the next disciple. Arjuna answered, I see only the eye of the bird. The sage says, very good, now shoot. But In today's complex scenario, the modern student and the teacher both have to see the tree, branches, leaves, sky, bird, and the eye, and still manage to shoot at the target. Now, this is what we call the comprehensive, all-inclusive, holistic education. Our steps in this regard are small, but we assure you that the entire team of teachers will work in coordination to implement the plans and reach the goals this year too. So what should I say? Any questions there?
I'm not going to ask a question. I'm just going to tell you one of the experiments that Pooja did. By the way, Pooja is not at all well today. That's why she has come late. Pooja, you may sit down. She is going through physical pain, actually. For one of her tests, she distributed 4 sets of question papers, A, B, C, D, in maths. So students knew they all had different papers. Nobody tried to copy. Each one did his own paper. After the test was over, Pooja said, now I'm going to discuss the answers. So they wanted to know which first, A, B, C, D. Then she told them, all are same. Only the order was different. So that was a good idea she did.
Can I proceed ahead? Okay. Apart from whatever we have been discussed so far, we also believe that the teacher should have a good emotional connect with the students. In this context, we would like to share a video clipping with all of you just to highlight the fact that positive reinforcement can do wonders. So please enjoy the video.
Would like to add that while one of our teachers had shared this video with us, a student of ours who has just passed the 10th standard sent it to us on WhatsApp. So when he wanted us to watch, so why not all of us watch it together, right?